I'll start from the point where my parents appeared and began banging on the car window. It was such a sudden and unexpected intrusion. I could feel the tension rising as my dad's voice filled the air, questioning me if someone had asked me to do something. My mom, as always, chimed in, urging me to just be quiet and persuade Steve. But what were they persuading Steve about? It didn't take long for me to piece it together. They were in cahoots with my in-laws, plotting against Ed, my husband. Steve, the chairman, was favoring his own father for the position, and they were scheming to remove Ed from his rightful place in the company. Then, amidst the chaos, I noticed something in my mother's hand, a crowbar. Before I could even comprehend what was happening, she swung it high, and with a deafening crash, the car window shattered. I was stunned, frozen in disbelief at the violence unfolding before me. And then came the news about Steve's car. They said it had fallen off a cliff, accompanied by a suicide note. But a week later, an envelope arrived, scheduled for that very day. Inside was a letter and a key. Steve's voice echoed through the words he had penned, urging me to read it without letting my parents find out. It was a premeditated message, a contingency plan in case something happened to him. He wanted me to take what was stored in a locker and run to his uncle's place immediately. With Lucy, my sister-in-law, by my side, we wasted no time. We grabbed what we needed and fled to Uncle Ronald's house, seeking refuge and justice. And so, here I am, Hannah McKinley, 34 years old, thrust into a world of betrayal and deceit. Once just a typical housewife, now a widow with 2 children, grappling with the unimaginable loss of my husband. But I refused to accept the official narrative. Steve had no reason to end his own life. We had dreams, plans for the future. Our love was strong, our bond unbreakable. We met at the resort hotel where we both worked, drawn together by our shared passion for hospitality and tourism. It was a place of dreams, where I had always longed to work since childhood. Despite the challenges and rigorous training, I persevered, guided by a senior employee who saw potential in me. But now, as I sit here, haunted by unanswered questions and grieving for the life we once had, I am determined to uncover the truth. To protect myself and my children, to honor Steve's memory, and to expose the sinister plot that led to his untimely demise. Uncle, Steve's parents weren't exactly shining examples of competence or integrity. They held positions within the McKinley Real Estate Group, but Steve had made it clear that it was more of a formality than anything else. He had even referred to them as scum for their lack of initiative and their tendency to rely on others. As I grappled with the shock of Steve's death, my in-laws wasted no time in reaching out, their calls dripping with insensitivity. "Hannah, Steve is in a real mess now, isn't he?" they said, as if his death was just another inconvenience. Their offer of support came with thinly veiled jabs at my financial future, insinuating that without Steve, I'd be left in dire straits. But I couldn't entertain their suggestions, not after everything that had transpired. I couldn't forget how they had treated us during our marriage, barely acknowledging our existence except for formalities. Steve had deliberately kept his distance from them, seeing through their facade of familial concern. It was clear that my in-laws had their own agenda, and it didn't involve genuine concern for my well-being. Their sudden interest in my future seemed more like an attempt to exert control, to swoop in and take advantage of the chaos left in Steve's wake. But I refused to let them dictate my path. Despite the overwhelming grief and uncertainty, I knew I had to stand firm. I couldn't allow myself to be manipulated or coerced by their false promises and veiled threats. So, with a heavy heart and a determined spirit, I pushed back against their intrusion, clinging to the memories of the man I loved and the life we had built together. And as I faced the daunting road ahead, I vowed to honor Steve's legacy, to seek justice for his untimely death, and to protect our children from the webs of deceit that threatened to ensnare us all. The dynamics within Steve's family were complex, to say the least. His parents held nominal positions within the McKinley Real Estate Group, a move orchestrated to keep them from causing any further setbacks. They were essentially kept on a tight leash, sent on meaningless trips under the guise of inspections, just to prevent them from meddling where they shouldn't. Steve had often laughed off the idea of joining them on these trips, preferring to stay home with me and Lucy, his sister. Speaking of Lucy, she was quite different from her parents. She had married a man with no ties to the family business and lived a life separate from the corporate drama. Lucy and her husband, Harvey, shared an unusual closeness with Steve, a bond that was evident whenever Harvey visited. Their relationship was something of a mystery, but Lucy seemed content with it, brushing off any concerns about their parents' antics. As for me, my relationship with my own parents was strained, to say the least. While things seemed fine when I was a child, the cracks began to show when I reached college. Out of nowhere, they demanded that I drop out and return home because of a marriage proposal from a local dignitary's son. It was a jarring revelation, shattering the image I had of my parents as loving and supportive. Suddenly, I realized that they saw me as nothing more than a bargaining chip, a means to their own ends. But I refused to be controlled, even if it meant facing financial hardship. I sought advice from my professors and scraped by on scholarships, determined to pursue my education on my own terms. The parallels between our family situations were uncanny. Both Steve and I had been caught in the web of familial expectations, forced to navigate a world where love and support came with strings attached. But as we faced the challenges together, we found strength in each other, forging a bond that was unbreakable, even in the face of tragedy. Life after college was a whirlwind of uncertainty and hard work. I hustled through part-time jobs, scraping by on minimal wages, all while trying to secure a stable future. It was during this time that I met Steve, a beacon of stability amidst the chaos of my life. Our relationship blossomed, leading to marriage, and despite my initial reservations, even my parents seemed oddly pleased with the match. But as we settled into married life and started a family, the cracks in our respective family dynamics became more apparent. Steve and I both sensed a certain level of expectation from our parents, an unspoken assumption that we would provide for them in their old age. Their seemingly innocent remarks about our children being a ticket to an easier life grated on us, reminding us of the burdens we carried from our pasts. Despite our misgivings, we pressed on, raising our children with love and determination. Steve's career flourished, providing us with the means to afford help around the house. But just when things seemed to be looking up, tragedy struck the McKinley Real Estate Group. The chairman's sudden illness sent shockwaves through the company, throwing its future into uncertainty. With no designated successor in place, the question of leadership loomed large. And amidst the chaos, Steve found himself thrust into the spotlight, nominated as a potential heir to the chairman's throne. It was a position neither of us had anticipated, and one that came with its own set of challenges and dangers. As Steve grappled with the weight of this unexpected responsibility, I couldn't help but worry about the implications for our family. Would this newfound power only serve to further entangle us in the web of corporate intrigue? Or would it offer us a chance to break free from the shadows of our pasts and forge a brighter future for ourselves and our children? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain, we were in this together, bound by love, loyalty, and the shared determination to carve out our own path, no matter the obstacles that lay ahead. The tension within the McKinley Real Estate Group reached a boiling point as Steve's nomination as the chairman's successor was met with resistance from certain quarters. While most senior staff saw it as a reasonable choice given Steve's training and education within the company, there were those who couldn't accept it, namely, Steve's own parents. Their resentment bubbled to the surface during a confrontation with the chairman, where they voiced their objections, demanding that Steve step down in favor of themselves. What started as a plea gradually morphed into a thinly veiled threat, leaving Steve and me on edge. As we grappled with the gravity of the situation, it became clear that Steve's parents were willing to go to extreme lengths to assert their dominance within the company. Their hostility toward us escalated, and we realized that we needed to take proactive measures to protect ourselves and our children. Drawing on Steve's resources and my own ingenuity, we devised a plan to ensure our safety. We enlisted the help of the building manager to prevent any suspicious individuals from entering our home, while Steve arranged for a discreet security detail to accompany us whenever we ventured outside. Despite our precautions, the threat remained ever present. One day, while we were enjoying a leisurely outing at the park, disaster struck. In a terrifying moment, a stranger attempted to snatch my daughter away, her intentions unmistakably sinister. But before she could succeed, a vigilant security guard intervened, thwarting her nefarious plan and safeguarding my child from harm. It was a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows, of the lengths to which our adversaries would go to assert their control. But it also galvanized our resolve, strengthening our determination to stand firm in the face of adversity and protect the ones we loved at all costs. The attempted kidnapping at the park left us shaken and on edge, reminding us of the dangers lurking in the world around us. We resolved to be even more vigilant, not just against kidnappings, but against any potential threats that might endanger our family's safety. However, amidst our heightened awareness, I overlooked one crucial detail: the looming threat posed by my own parents. The encounter in the apartment parking lot was a chilling wake-up call, a stark reminder that danger could come from unexpected quarters. As my parents aggressively demanded that I persuade Steve to decline the chairman position in favor of his own father, their true intentions became clear. They were willing to resort to violence to achieve their goals, brandishing a crowbar and shattering the car window in a terrifying display of force. In that moment of chaos, with shards of glass littering the car and my children crying out in fear, I felt a surge of panic. But I remained determined to protect my family, signaling for the security guards and ensuring our safe escape from the situation. As we retreated to the safety of our apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. My own parents, once trusted figures in my life, had revealed themselves to be willing accomplices in a dangerous game of power and manipulation. When Steve returned, I recounted the harrowing encounter, the shock evident in his expression. The realization that my parents had been coerced into participating in such a sinister plot only deepened our sense of unease. But amid the turmoil, one thing became abundantly clear: we couldn't afford to let our guard down. The threats against us were real, and we needed to stay vigilant if we were to protect ourselves and our children from the machinations of those who sought to harm us. The news of Steve's car being found at the bottom of a cliff hit me like a ton of bricks, shattering the fragile semblance of normalcy we had managed to maintain. It was a surreal moment, the words of the police barely registering as they delivered the devastating blow. How could this be happening? Steve, my rock, my partner in this tumultuous journey, couldn't possibly be gone. In the midst of my shock, Lucy stepped in, taking charge of the situation with a calm resolve that belied the turmoil raging within me. Together, we navigated the bureaucratic maze of the police station, confirming the grim news and retrieving the envelope found in Steve's car, a suicide note, the contents of which felt like a cruel twist of fate. The police's conclusion that Steve had taken his own life felt like a gut punch, a betrayal of everything he had stood for. How could he, after all the precautions we had taken, after his steadfast determination to protect our family? The very idea seemed inconceivable, a stark contrast to the vibrant, passionate man I knew and loved. Amid the haze of grief and disbelief, one thought echoed in my mind: he wouldn't do this to himself. There had to be more to the story, a truth buried beneath the surface of this tragic facade. But as the days passed in a blur of funeral arrangements and condolences, the truth remained elusive, obscured by a veil of uncertainty and suspicion. The local news buzzed with speculation, but the truth remained elusive, obscured by a veil of uncertainty and suspicion. Was it an accident, as they claimed? Or was there something more sinister at play, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? As I grappled with the enormity of my loss, one thing became abundantly clear: the journey was far from over. In the wake of Steve's death, a new chapter had begun, one fraught with unanswered questions, unspoken truths, and the relentless pursuit of justice for the man I loved. The days following Steve's death were a blur of grief and confusion, as I struggled to come to terms with the unthinkable loss. My children, innocent and vulnerable, looked to me for answers, their young minds struggling to comprehend why Daddy wasn't coming home. With Lucy's support, I did my best to shield them from the harsh realities of our situation, keeping them close and showering them with love and reassurance. But amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged, a letter from Steve, delivered posthumously, bearing instructions and a key. As I read his words, my heart swelled with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. Here was Steve, reaching out from beyond the grave to guide and protect us, even in his absence. With Lucy by my side, we wasted no time in heeding Steve's instructions, gathering only the essentials and fleeing to the safety of Uncle Ronald's home. The journey was fraught with tension and fear, every passing mile a reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows. But as we arrived at Ronald's doorstep, a wave of relief washed over me. Here, surrounded by family and guarded by Ronald's vigilant security team, we found a temporary sanctuary from the storm raging outside. Ronald and Olivia welcomed us with open arms, their kindness and understanding a balm to my weary soul. I was overwhelmed with gratitude, humbled by their unwavering support in our time of need. As we settled into our new surroundings, I couldn't shake the nagging sense of guilt that weighed heavily on my heart. I had underestimated the depths of the danger we faced, never imagining that Steve's enemies would go so far as to target him directly. But in Ronald's home, surrounded by love and protection, I found a glimmer of hope amid the darkness. With their help, I vowed to uncover the truth behind Steve's death, to seek justice for the man I loved and the family he left behind. As we gathered in Ronald's spacious living room, the weight of our shared grief hung heavy in the air. Olivia, ever the gracious hostess, tended to our needs with warmth and kindness, ensuring the children were comfortable and cared for. But behind the facade of tranquility, a storm of emotions raged within us, threatening to consume us with each passing moment. Ronald's frustration was palpable as he lamented the consequences of allowing certain individuals to roam unchecked within the group. His words struck a chord with me, stirring feelings of guilt and regret for not foreseeing the dangers that lay ahead. But as Olivia voiced her own regrets, a flicker of hope emerged, a plan to ensure the safety and well-being of my children, to shield them from the same fate that befell Steve. It was a proposal born out of love and concern, a gesture of kindness that touched my heart in ways I couldn't fully express. In the days that followed, Steve's body was laid to rest in a private funeral attended by family and close friends. The outpouring of condolences from Steve's colleagues and peers served as a testament to his character and integrity, a reminder of the impact he had on those around him. But amidst the somber atmosphere, a sense of unease lingered, fueled by the presence of Steve's parents, who sat behind us with a blatant disregard for the grief that enveloped us all. After the memorial service, Ronald convened a meeting with the family, in-laws, and management at his house. As we gathered in the sprawling garden, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, mingling with the tension that simmered beneath the surface. And then, amidst the crowd, a figure emerged, Harvey, Lucy's husband. His arrival met with a mixture of relief and curiosity. Clutching a bag tightly, he apologized for his tardiness, his grin masking the secrets he held close. As the day drew to a close, I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was far from over. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, but with the support of family and friends, I knew we would weather the storm together, united in our quest for justice and redemption. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Ronald's words hung in the air, his unexpected announcement sending shockwaves through the crowd. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the murmurs of disbelief that rippled through the assembled guests. As Ronald beckoned me and my children forward, a wave of apprehension washed over me, my heart pounding in my chest as I braced myself for what was to come. Beside me, Sam and Mia clung to my hand, their wide eyes betraying their fear and confusion. But as Ronald's intentions became clear, a sense of relief flooded through me, mingling with disbelief at the unexpected turn of events. Could it be true? Had Ronald truly decided to adopt Sam and Mia, to welcome them into his family as his own? The crowd's reaction was mixed, a cacophony of whispers and murmurs filling the air as Ronald's words sank in. Some expressed surprise and approval, while others voiced skepticism and doubt, their eyes darting between Ronald and Marcus, Steve's father. But as the murmurs grew louder, Harvey stepped forward, his voice steady and unwavering as he addressed the crowd. With Ronald's permission, he revealed the truth behind Steve's death, shedding light on the discrepancies and contradictions that had plagued the investigation from the start. As Harvey's words echoed through the garden, Marcus's protests faltered, his face contorted with shock and disbelief. The truth was out, laid bare for all to see, and there was nowhere left to hide. In the midst of the chaos, Ronald stood tall, his resolve unwavering as he faced the scrutiny of his peers and colleagues. It was a moment of reckoning, a turning point in our journey toward justice and redemption. And as the dust settled and the truth emerged, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope stirring within me. Despite the darkness that had clouded our lives, there was a light on the horizon, guiding us forward on the path to healing and closure. Harvey's revelation sent shockwaves through the room, the air thick with tension as the truth unfurled before us. Marcus, once so outspoken, now stood in stunned silence, his face a mask of disbelief and apprehension. As Harvey delved deeper into the investigation, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The tampering of Steve's car, the calculated road rage incident, and the long-standing embezzlement scheme, all interconnected, all leading back to Marcus. For years, Marcus had operated under the guise of innocence, his true nature hidden behind a facade of respectability and authority. But now, as the evidence mounted against him, there was nowhere left to hide, no more lies to shield him from the consequences of his actions. The room buzzed with whispers and murmurs as the gravity of the situation sank in. Ronald's expression was unreadable, his gaze fixed on Marcus, with a mixture of disappointment and resignation. And then, as if on cue, the doors swung open, and a wave of uniformed officers flooded into the room. Marcus's protests fell on deaf ears as he was placed under arrest, his once powerful facade crumbling before our eyes. As the commotion subsided and Marcus was led away in handcuffs, a sense of closure washed over me, mingling with the lingering echoes of disbelief and betrayal. The truth had been revealed, justice served, and though the road ahead remained uncertain, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope stirring within me. In the aftermath of the chaos, Ronald approached me, his expression grave yet determined. "I'm truly sorry for everything you've been through, Hannah," he said, his voice heavy with remorse. "But know that you and your children will always have a home here with us." And as I looked into Ronald's eyes, I saw not just sympathy, but a flicker of something else, a sense of resolve, of determination to set things right and ensure that justice prevailed. In that moment, surrounded by uncertainty and upheaval, I knew that we weren't alone, that we had allies, friends, and family who would stand by us no matter what. And with their support, I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that together, we could overcome anything. Life at Ronald's house has brought a semblance of stability and security to our once tumultuous existence. With each passing day, I find myself settling into a routine of caring for my children and providing support to Ronald and Olivia. The events that unfolded, the revelations that shook our family to its core, are still fresh in my mind. But as time goes by, I'm learning to focus on the present, to cherish the moments of tranquility and solace that we've found in Ronald's home. Olivia dotes on Sam and Mia, her affection a soothing balm for their wounded hearts. And though I can't help but feel a pang of sadness for their loss, I'm grateful that they have her love and care to lean on. Ronald's commitment to his health serves as a reminder of the fragility of life, of the importance of cherishing each day as it comes. His determination to see Sam and Mia through to adulthood fuels my own resolve to make the most of our time together. In this haven of warmth and kindness, I found a sense of belonging that I never thought possible. And though the scars of the past may linger, I'm hopeful for the future, for the days ahead filled with love, laughter, and the simple joys of family life.